Welcome back into Hawks Huddle after a week off. Jacqueline Kula and Mark Cascanet back here for our 26th episode here on Hawks Huddle. As always, we want to ask you guys, for anybody who is watching, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to our channel. It doesn't take much, a simple little gesture, and it means a lot to us. So a week off, and with that all said, how are you doing, Jacqueline?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Mark?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just going with the flow here, all sort of routine. As we always kind of start off with, things are looking better
Yeah.
in Ontario. So hopefully it stays like that. I'm doing a lot better. I think we're both doing a lot better than most Leafs fans this week.
Yeah. Well, you're a hat. Well, are you wearing a Montreal sweater right
I
now?
am, of
Oh,
course. I had to. I
you
had to.
had to. I was
it's
shocked, man, to see the Leafs choke.
it's a tough week again, year in and year out. There's nobody like the Leafs. It's crazy. So we're gonna probably start with a little talk on that unbelievable collapse, and we'll touch on a few different things today. A lot going on in the world of sports, not
Mhm.
really football wise, but a few things. Julio Jones, his name's been out there. We'll touch on that briefly, and of course, bigger than sports, a lot of news about Naomi Osaka this week as she withdrew from the French Open. We're going to have a little bit of a deeper conversation about that. I think we've been meaning to talk about players and athletes and what their role really is when you talk about off the field of
Mhm.
play. So we'll get into that as well. But yeah, let's start with the Leafs. A 3-1 series lead. As Jacqueline said, I'm a big Habs fan. I did not think we were going to win that series, and we came back, won 3 games in a row, and we're playing Winnipeg actually right now. What did you think of that
Is it
series?
is it right now?
As we record, I think it was
Ooh.
in the first period right now. But
Yeah. I'm not
yeah,
really
so that's a new
following hockey.
series. No, I know but you still, like you said a couple weeks ago, you still are hoping one of these teams pull through,
Canadian
right?
team,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Montreal, Winnipeg. That's it, right? Those are the only two Canadian teams.
that's it. Yeah, did
Mm.
you see some of the Montreal Toronto
Oh, I
series?
watched the Toronto Montreal
Yeah.
series. Of course, I had to watch that. Um, I was speaking to some Habs fans, some people in my family. We've talked about that. I have
Yeah.
a lot of family who are still in Montreal. They're all from Montreal, so there's a lot of Leafs fans in my family and a lot of Habs fans. I'm a Rangers fan
Oh,
though, so like I don't
yeah.
really care about the drama. But most Habs fans were saying they don't have a chance. There's no way that they're winning.
I know.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, listen, the Leafs love to choke. They love to choke. So just wait. The Leafs are up what, 3-1 in the series?
3-1.
And
Yep.
then they just collapsed like
It's ridiculous. Like, you try to compare it, we bring it to, we always talk about football on this show. It's kind of like the Browns, or it's kind of like, maybe the Jags, but the Jags have been to, they were in the conference championship a
yeah.
couple years ago. Like, you try to look at a team that's so like snake bitten year in and year out, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, they had the much better team on paper this year, every every year, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they have the 3-1 lead. Everything looks like it's going their way, and they still can't find a way to win. Just insane. I don't know where they go from here, but
I don't know.
we'll see.
They already did their rebuild. They have such a stacked team. Like this is the team that's going to win you. Maybe it's the goalie. Is that their problem?
Yeah,
But even the goalie looked pretty sharp. The
yeah.
big thing I
Campbell played
noticed,
well.
yeah, the big thing I noticed was that Marner was like nowhere to be found. This big
Nowhere.
star,
Yeah.
nowhere to be found.
And same with Matthews. And I mean, Matthews
Yeah.
had a lot of shots on net, and we do have Carey Price. I'm not, we do have one of
Yeah.
the best goalies in the world. But regardless, I mean, Marner gets paid like 10.5 million bucks. He hasn't scored a playoff goal in 18 straight games.
Wow.
You
Wow.
got to score, right? So, but like you said, you've already done your rebuild. You look so great on paper, and it's still not working out. That is not a spot you want to be in if you're Kyle Dubas and the Leafs management. I really don't know where they go from here. It's a lot of panic. I had a lot of Leafs friends as well. Sorry, and yeah, just a lot of panic and stuff like that from them. It's kind of funny to watch from either from a Rangers fan's perspective, or of course the team that beat them, the Habs. So it's interesting. The playoffs keep rolling on in the NHL. We just briefly wanted to touch on that because it was such a huge series. It was good to see fans in the arenas, for
That
those.
was great.
Yeah, it,
That
it
was
really
fun.
brings the energy. It shows you, and we've talked about it so much on this show, how kind of depressing it was without fans.
Yeah.
Even the 550 that the Leafs had at their arena,
Mhm.
and the Habs had 2,500 at theirs,
Mhm.
it makes a difference. You can hear them; they're into it,
Oh my
and I think the
gosh. Yeah,
players feed off of it.
for sure. For sure.
100%. So we'll transition here. I did want to mention, we both wanted to mention, this is Hawks Huddle. And of course, we got the name from the Golden Hawks, right? Which we both go to school at Laurier. Laurier and all of the OUA, which is the conference they play in, they haven't played sports in about a year and a half now since this pandemic started. And we both work with Radio Laurier. This is usually aired on Radio Laurier during the regular school year. We usually broadcast games, but they finally announced today that they are going to have a return to sports in the fall. Big news for me and you, or you and I, sorry, Jacqueline. And it's just great to see these young athletes. These are student athletes, younger athletes who are finally able to get back on to the field or onto the court, whatever they're
Yeah,
playing, right? So
finally.
it's awesome to see. I know we'll be working hand in hand with the schedule and with all of that, but it's so
Yeah.
awesome that Laurier is going to have some football, or not just football, all sports
Everything.
come the fall.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm
It
excited.
it, it really is. It's going to be awesome. Talking about fans getting back into the arenas and things getting a little bit back to normal. Um, you watched the NBA playoffs over the past couple weeks, haven't you, Jacqueline?
Yep. Yep. I have. It's been good. It's been exciting.
It's
Basketball's
been
been
really good.
fun.
It's been really good basketball. Last night, Damian Lillard had
Yeah.
a performance for the
55 points, or
ages.
was it more than that? But
Yeah,
it's and they still lost though.
55. And they still lost, I know, but it's been fun to watch. What we wanted to touch on here was kind of some of the antics that the fans have been
Mhm.
going through in the NBA. We've seen it with Kyrie Irving. We've seen it with John Morant,
Mhm.
and various different things. I don't know where did you kind of want to start on that. Obviously, Kyrie Irving got
Yeah.
a water bottle thrown at him. Russell Westbrook about a week ago had popcorn
Popcorn. Yeah.
thrown on him. John Morant had a racial slur
Mhm.
yelled to him and his family, or it was directed towards him and his family. Just unbelievable behavior. I mean, you're back at a pro sports game or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and that's the way that some of these fans are acting.
Like that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna be yelling racial slurs. You're gonna be throwing a water bottle at an athlete. It's like you'd be so grateful that you're at a game and this is what you do. These people should not be allowed in games. First of all, but the guy who threw the Kyrie bottle, he's being charged with assault.
Right.
And that's the right thing to do. People are like, that's not right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. He threw something at a guy who doesn't see it's coming. You're throwing it down. It could have hit someone in the eye. You have no idea. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure the right thing. And the person who yelled the racial slur, like I'm sure he's banned forever. They should charge
Yeah.
him of some sort. Yeah, it's disgusting.
It is. It's disgusting. It's almost like, and I was gonna see what your opinion was on the 21-year-old who did throw the water bottle. He did get charged,
Hmm.
and I am in complete agreement with you. Like, you go to a game. I think even there's got to be a disclaimer on the ticket or something, or even when you're at the game, the announcers, usually the PA comes on and says, everybody, remain in your seats or whatever.
Hmm.
Gives you the disclaimer if there's an emergency or evacuation, stuff like
Yeah,
that. I'm sure they say don't throw anything onto the court
yeah,
or throw anything onto the field as well.
of
And they
course.
don't need to say that. It's common sense. You know that when you go to a
Yeah.
game. So, for you to have for lack of a better word, for you to have the stupidity
Hmm.
to just go out there and throw, whether it be popcorn, I see a lot of people saying it was just a water bottle. It doesn't matter
It could
what
be
it
used as a
is.
weapon. It
It
could
doesn't
make him
matter.
blind. It doesn't, or it could have fallen. He could have tripped. Like
Yeah.
what you're like you don't just throw it. Like hey, catch this, Kyrie. You're throwing because you're angry. Because your team lost, so you're angry or you're
Well, and
mad.
he
Yeah,
stepped
he
on the
stepped on
logo,
the logo.
right?
But that's what they do in sports. Like Juju did the TikTok dances on the
Yeah,
logo. Like that's disrespectful. That's sports. Let both teams handle it together. Like if they have a problem with it,
exactly.
if the Celtics had a problem, then they can go do their trash talk, whatever. But as a fan, you're paying free for your ticket. You're able to watch the greatest athletes in the world compete, and you're gonna throw a water bottle because you're angry that he lost, that you guys lost. It's like,
Yeah. It's like you forget the reason why you're there. Like you just said, right? Like you're there and you're it's great because of all that we've went through over the past year too. Like you're there to watch
yeah,
professional sports games, the best athletes in the world,
yeah,
and that's the way you act. I think Kevin Durant said he called them basically animals. Like
hmm,
he said, like we're not, it's not a zoo here.
yeah,
You don't throw stuff around. Like just watch the game, right?
yeah,
I mean, that's what fans have to do. And as fans get back into arenas in Canada and with the OUA, as we mentioned, coming back and stuff like that, I don't think it needs to be reiterated. But yeah, like just, fans just need to act properly
yeah.
when they attend these games. And
Like,
it's,
remember, it's a sport. It's something that we all love. It's something that I've yelled at my TV. I've screamed at those Giants before, but
yeah,
it's like at the end of the day, it's a game, right? It's a
exactly.
sport that we just like to enjoy. These guys are, you know, it's their job. They're getting paid millions of dollars. We're just there to enjoy it. Okay, it's not something you don't have to get so angry by yelling racial slurs and
And they're
throwing
human
things at them.
beings.
It's like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
human beings. Like I know they're making this money. I know that there's these public guys. They're people. They're
Yeah.
people. They're not objects. They're not things that we get to control because we're paying to go to games. No, you're paying because you want to go for yourself. You want to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
people
They're
need to
people.
learn that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you got to act properly when you're at these games, and hopefully they do. Um, this weekend, a big fight. We talked about this on our last episode, but of course, Floyd Mayweather puts his 50-0 record on the line against Logan Paul this Sunday. I just saw before we recorded this the over/under on how many pay-per-view purchases of it. I think is set at 4 or 5 million. It's going to
Wow.
be and that's
Wow.
like pay-per-view watches of it, right? So or just pay-per-view purchases. It's
It's gonna
going to
break
be insane.
records.
Yeah. And I think we were saying that before. Do we have a prediction on it? I think we're both I think everybody is saying Floyd
It's
Mayweather is
like,
not going to lose, right?
but it came out, I believe, that there's actually not gonna be any winners because it's
Oh,
exhibition.
really?
There's no, I forget what it was. There's no actual winner, but
Gotcha.
knockouts are allowed. So it's like you
Gotcha.
can knock out. I think it's 8 rounds, 3 minutes, something like that. But there's no like proper like winner.
Yeah, it's not
So
going to count towards like Floyd's record or
no, I
Paul.
don't think so. And yeah, and they're not gonna announce a winner. So like
But still,
you'll
to
be able to
like we
tell.
said last, yeah, exactly. You'd be able to tell, and like we said 2 weeks ago, if Logan Paul is able to, I think we were saying just even last like
Yeah.
a couple rounds with Floyd Mayweather, that's impressive, right?
If Logan is able to stay on his feet for like if he's able to stay on his feet for the entire thing, then he's a champ. But like I know we're like I was watching these, there's this big like documentary thing going on. I think it was a 40-minute video of just Floyd and Logan, and you're seeing them training, all that stuff, and even people talking about it. And it's what's the fight that's happening is not really like legal because Logan is so much bigger than Floyd because
Right.
he's supposed to be cutting weight, but they're allowing it. I think he has to pay. I think he's fine though. I think he keeps on getting fined because his weight's too much. But
Right.
like
Yeah.
Floyd's fine with it. So Floyd isn't supposed to be fighting someone this big because he's a little guy. I
Oh
think
yeah.
he doesn't weigh that much. He's very strong, but he's not a big guy. I think he might be my height. No, he's probably a little taller.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but Logan is too big to be fighting him, and he has a really long reach, and Floyd doesn't. So like, I'm not saying Logan's gonna win,
Yeah.
but I really like. Listen, I want to see him win. I think we all kind of do. Even if you hate Logan Paul, you want to see him beat the champ. Um,
Exactly.
is it extremely unlikely? Yeah. But I'm not saying it's impossible. Floyd's old. Logan is
He
young.
is. Yeah.
Logan is in the best shape he has ever been in his entire life. The way he's built is insane. And um I think like I want to give him a chance. I do.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's impossible. I want to give him a chance.
Well, when his brother was fighting Askren, I think a lot of people were saying, well, most people were saying, yeah, that, Jake's not going to win. Askren's going to win. Askren's too good. But when you really look at it and you look at the age, I mean, Floyd Mayweather is super old now. I mean, he
Yeah.
hasn't fought in years,
Yeah.
right? And but what you just mentioned there, I just if it's not legal, I didn't know that actually that
I believe
it makes
something with like you're not supposed to, I'm not 100%, don't,
yeah, they're
clip
not in the
this and
weight
quote me.
classes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And he's also so much taller than him. I think he's about 6 or 7 inches taller.
And 100%. I mean that makes complete sense. And what that tells me though is that Floyd's completely in it for the money.
Oh,
Completely in it for the
100%.
money.
100%. This is gonna do better than all of his other fights. There's no question.
No
And
question.
he's getting a different audience. Like most kids my age probably won't really, care to watch a Floyd fight just with any fighter. They're all going to want to go watch Logan Paul fight him because we
Yeah.
all kind of, a lot of us grew up with him. I remember watching his videos like 4 years ago when he was just this cringy, excited YouTuber. We're now seeing him fight the greatest boxer of all time.
Who
So,
would have thought, right?
who would have thought that these two kids would be like star athletes? So, everybody's going to be watching this. They're both doing this for the money, but
Yep.
Floyd has so much to lose if he does lose.
Oh, exactly.
Logan has nothing
Exactly.
to lose. If he loses, it's like, yeah, duh,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
lost. It's Floyd Mayweather. But if he wins, like Floyd's life is over. His career is over. His reputation is over. He will never be seen the same way.
Never exactly the reputation that he's gonna have if he is to lose to Logan Paul. I mean, it's yeah, completely. You know, you go through a 50-0 record, and that's what it means. Whether this counts towards his record, like you said, it's exhibition.
Mhm.
But regardless, it's gonna harm his reputation if he does lose or however the fight works out. That's gonna be awesome to see. If you missed us, if you missed our last episode, sorry, we did talk a little bit about the fight and just about the Paul brothers in general and how we know that it is about the money, but how kind of strategic it is. So that was our episode from a couple weeks ago. We'll be watching that. Also, Jake Paul, he has a new fight. He's going to be fighting Tyron Woodley, a former UFC welterweight champion. So
Mhm.
another former actual professional
Yes.
fighter.
But it's not a boxer. So people are still going at
Right.
him that he's not a boxer, but this guy's a real fighter. Like
Yeah.
this guy is a real fighter. Ben Askren was a real fighter, but he had his surgeries. He's old. Like you saw the way he looked going into that fight. That guy did
Not
not
top
look like a
shape.
fighter. That guy
Yeah.
did not look like a fighter. Tyron Woodley is a fighter. So this will be a real matchup because Jake still is a young boxer. He's not ready to
Mhm.
fight like Floyd. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
he's he's not ready to fight these big boxers yet. So this will be a real fight, but Jake has to win because if he doesn't win, then his whole reputation might kind of be done as well. Not too sure
Yeah,
though.
but I mean, it would go to his momentum, right? Like he beat Askren I guess a month ago or so, a little bit
Yeah,
longer
a
now,
little over a
and
month
then
ago. Yeah,
now he's got another fight with another UFC former champion.
yeah,
So if he starts racking up these wins, like we were saying on our last episode, I mean, he's really building himself a career in the sport
yeah.
to I mean, I don't know who likes that. We said a lot of people don't like that, right? A lot of the
No, they
people in the
hate that.
sport, but he really is. So
I
it's
love it though. The younger generation loves it, but if you're older than like 30, you're probably gonna hate it.
exactly, exactly. So we will watch that on Sunday, as I'm sure most of you guys will be watching as well. Like we said, we wanted to transition to a little bit more of a more important topic than just the sports on the field or on the court. Athletes off the field. I mean, Naomi Osaka made some news this week when she said she didn't really want to talk to the press. It was a personal choice to her. She released a whole statement and she came out with it, and she received a lot of flack from it. If you haven't seen her statement, give it a read because it really she's speaking from her heart, she's speaking from her mind, and that's where I think the people who are out here criticizing her, it's ridiculous. LaMarcus Aldridge, also the former basketball all-star, he released a statement this week saying he's been battling with his own mental health struggles since retiring. So I think this is a good time to focus on the bigger picture of
Hmm.
athletes
Yeah.
and their mindset, right?
Yeah, like this whole thing, her not wanting to speak to the media, she got fined 15K,
Yeah,
right? And then so she dropped out of the tourney, which I agree with because like
yeah,
you're really gonna find someone because they don't want to speak to the media. Like the big question that's going on now is, should athletes be required to speak to media? And that's kind of something that we do. We like to speak with athletes. But
Right.
the answer is no. I think for me at least, I know Stephen A. Smith was saying they should, whatever. Mental health comes first. If you're really you're not doing well, and then you go play your sport that you love, you're still not doing well mentally, and then you have to go talk for an hour to a bunch of people that you don't even know, and they're gonna try to find, they want you to say something controversial or something big to get clicks, whatever. That should not be mandatory. And people are going to say, oh,
Right.
well, if it's not mandatory, then you're never going to get athletes. Tons of athletes like to speak with the media. It's not like athletes are going to ever stop.
Yeah.
Athletes still, they like to chat. They don't mind doing it, a lot of them. But
A lot of them do.
yeah,
Yes. And that's the thing, right? Like, it's a tough situation because that's what most people are wanting to debate about, right? If athletes should be required to do that. Now, you look at all of these, how big sports is, right? There are reporters, there are, people like us who do shows, people like Stephen A. who just talk about the sports news, who interview athletes, who are supposed to gather the news. There's team reporters who fly with the team, travel with the team, and cover the team, right? And it is sort of their responsibility to talk, like it's part of the contract essentially to be
yeah,
talking to the media. um but in this situation, like the amount of hate, the amount of criticism that she kind of focused, and that's what I mean. If you look at the statement that she came out
hmm,
with, it makes a whole lot of sense.
yeah,
And for you, like you said, mental health comes first,
yeah,
regardless of what. Like you can still, although like I am trying to say it is kind of their job to talk to the media, it is still, your mental health still needs to be
yeah,
paramount. It still needs to be above all of that. All right. And I don't know kind of what the solution is. It's not to fine her
no,
15K though.
no,
That's not the solution. And for her to withdraw out of the French Open, one of the bigger opens in tennis, one of the bigger tournaments in tennis, it shows a lot. But
yeah,
the athlete comes first. I think it would be interesting to see if athletes weren't required to talk. I think at least coaches should be required to talk and do a
yeah,
post-game press conference,
yeah.
because they represent the players in a way, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like you can still get a lot of content without speaking directly to athletes. Yes,
Yeah,
we love seeing athletes' interviews, but like when, I'd rather see Kyrie Irving, or just as an example, or actually, no, I'll do, Osaka. I'd rather see her on like a podcast, chatting with someone for an hour than seeing them do like a post-game interview for 2 seconds where she's like doesn't want to be there, because you can
yeah,
tell sometimes when people don't want to be there. The whole thing, marsh on lunch. I'm only here so I don't get fined. Like you can tell when someone wants to be there and when they don't. I'd rather see them talk about their game or whatever when they're like enjoying themselves, but not right after a bad game, or right
yeah.
after you're mentally not doing well. I don't want to see a post press conference.
Exactly. And I think the majority of athletes, I feel like the wide majority of athletes probably would agree with that. And I'm not opposed to that either. Because she said, she's more of an introvert to
Hmm.
to begin with.
Yeah,
Okay, and this is who she is. Like there's no changing that. And there's
yeah,
no reason anybody should be hating her because of this. Right? She's an introvert and she's dealt with, social anxiety and things like that when she is talking to the press.
yeah,
Right? So you need to understand that before anything. And then, like you're saying, I think those are all super valid points. You go through a 3 hour, 4 hour, however long the match is, and you go through this grueling tennis match and you end up losing. Do you really want to go out there and talk to them, being that you're an introvert to begin with?
yeah,
And now you're forced to go talk to the media after you play a 3 hour match that you lose. So I kind of I agree with you in that sense. I think it would be a lot better if there was a different way, maybe like yeah, like
mhm,
if you can maybe schedule like an interview with a certain reporter, like I don't know, once every week. It's hard to sort of
yeah.
think about
Yeah, like maybe
an
you
alternative,
you
right?
should
But
meet with like one reporter or something like that. Like, but it shouldn't be, you get fined if you don't do this one thing, because there's other athletes too that they can't speak to, right?
Yeah.
There's so many other people who love to talk to media. There's people who love the media, but there's some people who just, it's too hard on them, and that should be allowed. So,
It should be exactly. So, if the question is, and like you said, if the question is, should they all be required to? And I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure that's how it is right now.
mhm,
Should they all be required to? No, I don't think, for for a case like Naomi Osaka, like no, I don't think she should be allowed to, or she should have to, I should say,
yeah,
go out there for a post game press conference.
mhm.
And same thing goes with, like I'm sure Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and all those guys didn't want to talk to the press after
No,
losing Game 7,
no,
right?
exactly. Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's interesting in that sense. I brought up LaMarcus Aldridge too because it just goes to the whole mental health thing that I think so many people miss when we watch sports, and
Yeah,
this even can go back to our talk on fans.
mhm,
People are so just focused on the game or focused on how good their favorite players are playing or how good their team is playing, where yeah, you forget that all of these athletes are human. Like
yeah,
this
yeah,
is their job. Like it's like, imagine if you're at your job and you're getting heckled by 20,000 people. Like it's going to do something
yeah,
to your mental health, and I
yeah.
don't think that these press conferences help.
No,
Um, so that's interesting. But LaMarcus Aldridge, he just recently retired, and
mhm,
he said he's been dealing with depression and things like that, some mental health struggles over the past couple of months. So it's important to think about that when we watch sports. I think a
yeah,
lot of people lose that, so it's
100%.
important. It's important to think about. We want to briefly just touch on one story in the NFL before we leave you guys here. Super super interesting on what's the show they do now? Undisputed, I
Yeah,
think, is the
undisputed.
show that
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless are on now. Um, so I don't know if this is even legal, but Shannon Sharp called Julio Jones on the air, and Julio Jones said he is out of Atlanta. He's
Yeah.
out of there. You saw
And
that
then,
clip,
of
right?
course, and then he was asked if he's going to Dallas. He's like, "No, I want to go win," which was
Yeah.
like music to my ears. Seeing him saying he's not going to Dallas was perfect. But people are saying that Julio did know. I don't think he did.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, but it was pretty shocking to hear.
But it's like the first thing in any if you were broadcasting something, you got to inform the person that you're on air. Like
Yeah,
whether you're calling someone or we're doing an interview with someone, I mean they got to know that when the camera's on, or when
yeah,
they're being recorded. And
yeah.
that's why it was when Shannon first called him and he's like, "I'm out of there." I don't know. Did he know? Yeah, like
I
I
don't
I
know.
don't know.
I don't know, but like I think people kind of already know, or he just want to find a way to announce it somehow, but
Maybe
didn't
find a
know.
way
So
to
maybe that
get
was
the
just
trade talks sort
yeah,
of rolling a little
yeah,
bit too.
and maybe that was the best way. So now Dallas knows that they're not gonna get him, so now he doesn't have to worry about that. But yeah, I don't know. But now, like, what's the question? Where is he going? What's
Yeah,
best for Julio? Like that's a big name. That's a
that's a
big name.
huge
It's also an
name.
injury prone wide receiver. So you have to remember that. What do you want to give up for him? But then again, he's Julio
And an
Jones.
aging wide receiver too,
Yeah.
right? But not too old. Let's like
No.
he is still a top talent in the league,
Top, top.
no doubt. So it's really interesting. I hear a lot of different teams thrown out there. I
Mhm.
hear a lot of the Titans, which
Yeah,
I would hate because they're in my division,
they are.
the
Yeah.
Jags division.
What about
Uh,
Jags though? You guys can't
It's
get him. You
it's
don't
I
think so?
yeah, it's just I don't know what we could give up, right?
Because he would probably want to come play with Trevor Lawrence. Like
He might, and I mean, I would love that. I would
that'd
I
be
would love
cool.
for that to happen. That'd be amazing. But I don't know. We have Tebow now, right? So no, I'm kidding. But no, but it's really interesting because the Falcons apparently are asking for a good bit. They're asking
Yeah.
for at least a first rounder, um, and
Yeah,
maybe
I get
more,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're the Jags, you're still kind of rebuilding,
Yeah.
right? So do you want to give up a first rounder? Because there's no guarantee at all we're going to be a team in the playoffs this
No.
year.
No.
So that's interesting with the Jags. I hear a lot of the Patriots thrown out
Mhm.
there too.
Mhm. Yeah.
That would just be
Broncos a little bit too.
classic Belichick. I hear
Yeah.
Broncos
Well,
as
I think
well.
I think if Rogers goes to Broncos, I think they can get Julio probably.
Yeah, I mean, or what about just Green Bay just gets Julio and makes Rodgers happy? You know,
Ooh, that would be
maybe.
nice. That would be cool seeing Julio on the Packers.
Yeah, but because we still don't know what's happening with Rodgers. I feel like
Yeah.
this Rodgers situation is the same thing as the Watson situation before all
Mhm.
of the other news with Watson came out. It's like both of
Yeah.
those guys have announced they don't want to play with the team anymore, but the team doesn't want to get rid of them. They can't trade themselves. So
No, exactly.
you're stuck in limbo
Yeah.
basically, right? So I don't know what's going to happen with Rodgers. I think the Broncos, and we both been on that. We both been saying Rodgers to Denver. I feel like that could pick up steam in the next couple of months and stuff. But it's all kind of quiet with Rodgers right now.
I know. Yeah, I think he was in Hawaii.
Was he?
Yeah, yeah. He was
Yeah,
hanging out with his wife and some other actors and
right on.
living the life of a Hollywood star. Yeah.
Of course. Did you see his interview on Sports Center a week
I
ago
didn't
or
watch.
so?
I saw it, but I didn't watch the full thing though. I saw clips though of it.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I encourage anybody who hasn't seen it to watch it because of course the questions were, what do you think about the Packers or what do you want to do? And he just masterfully like sidestepped every question. Just didn't
Oh,
answer the
he's
question
genius
at
at
all.
that. He knows how to like
Exactly.
swoop around. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a politician in that sense. Just circle around the question, but don't actually answer the question. It was pretty funny. But we'll see what happens with Rodgers and we'll see what happens with Julio. I think Julio might get traded soon. Given the conversation with Sharp and given that they had to wait until June 1st, that was a key date because of the contract and stuff. So
Mhm.
now that we're past that, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Tebow also. I know I was joking around about Tebow, but did you see a picture of him?
Oh my gosh, he's
He looks
huge. He's
huge.
huge. Like he looks like a tight end. He looks bigger than a tight end. Like
I know.
I don't think that really. I don't know. Does that change things?
No, not in my mind. I'm solidly on the fact that he's probably not going to make the team,
No.
but he looks good. He looks
He's
strong.
yeah. He
So
does. He does.
we'll see how that goes.
Hmm.
But yeah, as we mentioned, the Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather fight that is on Sunday. I'm sure we'll talk about that for sure next week
Yeah.
once the results and such come in. And the NHL and NBA playoffs keep kind of rolling on. We hope to have a few interviews down the road. Maybe Chris Haynes back on. We talked to him
Hmm.
a little bit earlier this NBA season. Hopefully, we can get him back on, talk about the playoffs. But yeah, those keep rolling on, and the NFL is kind of starting up training camps soon. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the lay of the land in sports. And yeah, like we said, Mayweather and Paul this Sunday. But yeah, so that is about it for today on the podcast. Once again, we want to make sure that you guys follow us on Instagram at Hawks Huddle Podcast, and please drop a like on this video as well as subscribe to our channel. Like I said, it helps us out a lot, and we plan to do this throughout the whole summer.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of things kind of planned for the summer that we've been talking about. So stay tuned to that. And yeah, Jacqueline, anything else you kind of wanted to add, or
I think that's it. I think we covered a lot. We got some
we
big
did? There's a lot
things to
going
still
on.
talk about for next week. So we got
Yeah,
some big things. Yeah, coming up. This Sunday. Yeah, the
yeah. This
fight.
Sunday, the big
It's gonna be
fight,
good.
for sure, for sure. Alrighty, well, for Jacqueline Kula and Mark Haskinet, we want to thank you for everybody tuned in to this episode, and we will see you again next week on Hawks Huddle.